Okay, in this video, I'm going to ask a question at first. How many of us have a dysfunctional family member or somebody at work who's dysfunctional, in that they are so very self-absorbed. They're self-centered, and it's not just something temporary. It's not just something that maybe they have a situation they need to be focused on themselves. It's an overall personality behavior of theirs that some people would say is a narcissist, but just one behavior doesn't make a narcissist. That person needs to be diagnosed by a counselor or whatever kind of professional it is in your area. But one bad behavior, like I said, doesn't make a narcissist. Okay, and say this person is dysfunctional, is a dysfunctional family member or somebody at work, somewhere where you spend a lot of time with this person or have in the past. And what they do could be something they do on a regular basis, or something that you just notice every once in a while. And that is, they are not, they tell you, and you might think it's gaslighting or something like that, but they'll say, you never told me that, when you know you had told them that. But they say, no, you never told me that. And a lot of people might, like I said, might think this is gaslighting, but it might be that one thing is they're not listening. They hear your voice, but they're not listening to what you're saying. Sometimes it is that they're listening, that they're hearing you, but they're basically listening for you for a brief, synopsis of what you're saying, and then they're waiting for a break where they can somewhat politely interrupt you to talk about themselves. Okay, there's a variety of things that could happen. It could be. Okay, now some people might call this selective hearing, but it's really selective listening. They hear you, they hear the voice, they just aren't listening to the words. Let's just say they're totally not listening. They're off in their own little world, self-absorbed world, thinking about, and I've said this in a video before, what everybody's going to be showing them glory for. They're going to get glory for doing this. Something that the whole world is looking at them and say how wonderful, how great they are. They're in a fantasy world, off in their fantasy world. And you're thinking they're making the appropriate head shakes or something like that. And yeah, this. But they're really not listening to you, because if it's not about them, there's a good chance they're not listening. If it's not about them, to them, it's not important. It has to be something that's going to benefit them. Now this is, of course, not 100% across the board, and everybody who has that certain behavior does that. But we're talking about the ones who do. Okay, and I'm saying this because I think some people will jump and say, oh, this is the behavior of another behavior or symptom, or what they do is to gaslight people. Like I said, it might be that they really are not listening to the words you're speaking. And so whenever later on you say, well, I told you that, say you told them that we have an appointment, that you have an appointment and you want them to go with you at the doctor's office or the dentist's office or whatever it is. And a day comes up and they're nowhere to be found, or you can't get them on the phone. They say, well, you never told me that. Okay, some people will jump and say that's gaslighting, when, like I said, it could be that they seriously weren't listening. You told them, you told them, and they did the appropriate, okay, all right, but they weren't listening. They did not commit it to memory. They were off in their own fantasy world. Yeah. If it's something at work, and possibly even at home, one of the best things to do is to get it in writing. Okay, I took the wrong turn here. But yeah, get it in writing. If it's something, it depends on the situation, of course. If it's very important that they must have heard, and you see this pattern within them, get it in writing when you tell them. Okay, as I was saying, make sure you get it in writing, or something that depends, like I said, depends on what it is. If you're at work and there's something that you need that person to know, an appointment or whatever, as long as it's not your boss, but say it's somebody at your same level, and it could be very, harmful to your job if they don't go or do or whatever. Get it in writing. Tell them, say, you need to sign off on this, you need to sign this stating to be there or to do that or whatever. Or have a witness. Somebody who witnesses you telling that person this is what is going to need to be done. And it's, like I said, it could also be a family member. It could be your spouse, your significant other, your adult child. That you need somebody to have witnessed it. So there wouldn't be any of this later on saying, I didn't hear you. Okay, now that's not always the good. And plus they might get angry if you say that. If they're that type to get angry. So it's up to you. Nobody can really I'm not giving any advice to anybody. And nobody can give you advice like that because each person and each situation is different and it might have a bad outcome. Everybody has to pay the price for their own the consequences to their own actions or inactions. So, okay, and I'm also saying it because some people will jump, especially in these days, how there's so much information out there about narcissism. Well, there's also this old saying that says, a little bit of knowledge can be a dangerous thing. And it can be, especially for I'm not trying to dissuade anybody from doing what they feel like they have to do. Like I said, this is not advice. But young people who are in relationships, and something like that happens, and maybe that person is self-absorbed for whatever reason, that significant other, the person you're married to, for various reasons. Maybe they have something at work that they have to focus on themselves. I'm worried that some people will say, once they see that, it's a red flag to them. They've heard all this lingo. They say, that's a red flag. That's gaslighting. And therefore that person is a narcissist. And they make these great leaps between what they've heard, and suddenly they're at the level to diagnose their significant other and start immediately planning to escape. Not escape, but to leave. Okay? And that could be the same thing with somebody at work. Okay? And I do worry that, especially young people, jumping to this kind of conclusion that they won't take the time to try to work things out. That's been a problem for many, many years, many couples. And, your dysfunctional family can be the one that you created. You and your spouse or your partner or whatever it is. And if you have any children, okay, you helped create that. And the person who could be dysfunctional is your significant other. Okay. So, but I'm afraid that people are going to jump, make all those assumptions and, diagnose and not try, like I said, not try to work it out, not try to find out what's going on with my partner, that they're not listening, they're not paying attention, that they forgot this or that. And it could be the same thing as, like I said, as for a colleague or coworker. Okay, so people should be careful with this. If you have access to a counselor or seek counseling, to seek counseling and ask about these kinds of questions, or somebody else. But I would say a counselor, because somebody else could be just as wrong. Okay, especially if they might have an agenda. But that's a whole separate thing. But like I said, I'm not here to give anybody advice. So you do what you want to do. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. If you want to subscribe to this channel and you haven't already, you can click the circle icon that pops up. If you want to watch another video on this channel, you can click one of the rectangles that pop up. Like, subscribe, comment, and share on your own social media if you would. And I'll talk to you on another video. Bye.